until we met the people of Nekla and Mr. Jurek. We thought of Nekla only bad things. I'm talking on behalf of myself. I thought it was a horrible place. And because I read the book and I remember the stories, and it wasn't a known camp because it was one of thousands of small camps that were destroyed after a few months, and they didn't get all the rating that the other camps has. But then came this research that was done about the camp, and we got to know the people of Nekla and the stories, how the people of Nekla helped.
My father, Arie Goldstein, was born in 1927 in a small town named Widawie. His mother, Bluma Gersh, from Sdonska Wola, and Mordechai Goldstein from Widawie. My father told about Widawie with longing. He described happy childhood. They were well-to-do family. Had fields, bakery, a grocery, and big house. The relationship with the neighbors was very good. He used to tell about his friends. He played football and swam in the river, Vidavka. In Widawie were 300 Jewish families. The Jewish community built a big library, and they were meeting there. They were meeting there, and an impressive synagogue. And behind the synagogue, the Rabbi Avraham Mordechai Morocco were lived.
They lived together in harmony. They went to the Polish children and the Jewish children went to the same school.
He studied in public school.
They studied together, and when there was a Bible lesson, the rabbi would come. They would cover Jesus and Maria, and the Christian children went to their Bible lessons, and the Jewish went to their. They were playing together. They were working together. My grandfather really remembers it's his homeland. He really feel connected to the village and the people there. And 50 years after the war, he got contact with his friends from childhood. And
yes, and after the schools, the public school, what Anat told, he went to the Cheder. He studied Talmud, Torah, with Rabbi Pinchas Solomonovich. And in Saturdays and Chagim holidays, they went to the synagogue. He went with his father and the family to the synagogue, and didn't go on Saturday. Didn't go to school, and then he had the lessons from his friend. They were a Zionist and religious family. They wanted to go to Israel. They planned to go to Israel after when they planned to send my father when he will be 18 years. They wanted to send him to Israel, and then shlichim, from Israel came to their home, their village, and they slept in my father's house.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, people would come and tell the
From
teenagers
Israel.
about Palestine. It wasn't Israel. Mm-hmm. About Palestine and the land of the Bible and everything, and they were longing to go there and build and to be
future.
Yeah. So it was a mix of a very Jewish family that's celebrating all the holidays and all the customs, and talking about Israel, about Palestine.
When Second World began, the Jewish students were expelled from schools. They couldn't go to school. And my grandfather thought maybe they will escape to Łódź, and then to Łódź because it's a big city, and there he thought they could live. But when they arrived to Pate, near Lodz, they heard that the Germans they are in Łódź, and they went back to Widawie. When they came back to Widawie, they discovered that all the houses, the Jews' houses were burned, and they burned the people also. The rabbi from the Cheder, Pinchas Solomonovich, was burned. They murdered him. But when they came, the neighbor, look how the relationship were good. The neighbor who lived near them helped them to build a small house to live. They didn't have where to live in Widawie. They helped them to build their home.
There was one event where all the Jewish people were told to go to the synagogue, and they asked the rabbi to take the Torah book, the big Torah, and to make a fire and to throw the Torah to the fire. They
threw the Torah and told him to burn the Sefer Torah. And he couldn't do it. He prayed. He said Tehillim. He couldn't do it. They killed. They beat and nothing. And of the end, they took and burnt the rabbi and the Sefer Torah. And my father was only 12 years old when he saw this
event.
Did he witness this happening?
Yeah.
Yes, he was there. He saw it.
He was before his bar mitzvah. You know, the Jewish male has bar mitzvah when they turn 13. And they came back home, and his father said, I don't know what's going on, but it's not good. It's not going to be good. Let me teach you how to put the tefillin and to read the thing you have to do for your bar mitzvah, because I don't know what will happen. It will be the end. Something really bad is going to happen. And my great-grandfather, Mordechai, couldn't believe that the German people could be so evil. He knew Germans, he thought they were very civilized. He could not believe, and whenever the rumor came, and he would say, no, it's never going to be, I know the German people. And it came by surprise, and there is nothing they could do to be prepared.
Approximately, at the end of 1940, at the beginning of 1941, they transferred the ghetto of Widawie liquidated. The German liquidated it, and then they sent them to a bigger ghetto, Belchatov. In Belchatov, he was 15 years old. It's 2 years, something. It was an event that his neighbor from Widawie told him, go to the synagogue. They took your father, and they want to send him to unknown place and unknown time. unlimited. Go and change him because he can help your mother with small children. So my father didn't think. You asked me a question about if my father
knew
knew
what was going to happen.
Yes, he didn't think. No, he didn't. He was not afraid. You asked me about the fright. He was not afraid, and he ran to the synagogue. There he asked to change his father. He was very proud about it. He did it. They
Let them
to reply, and he was very proud. He told that in the book. He thought, I am mature, and I help my family. But then he thought, but he didn't say goodbye, and didn't tell his mother that he is going to do such a thing, and didn't tell bye to his brothers and his big sister. And that's all the story in the synagogue. It was in a synagogue in Belchatov. When I think about this, I think it was a synagogue. It was a synagogue. Synagogue is a church. You have to protect you. You know. And I thought about his father, what his father was thinking, that he left his son, 15 years old, in the synagogue with the bad soldiers. I thought it's Abraham and Yitzchak, you know. And I asked, where is the angel? I ask it. I think about it.
My grandfather described it as the worst camp he were, because it was a very primitive camp. They didn't have like water. They had this huge tank with water that they used for drinking and washing themselves. Later on there was running water, but at the beginning it was not. They did not have uniforms, as we know from other camps. They came with the clothes they wore when they left Belchatov, and they stayed all the time with these clothes. Once a week they would give the clothes for
isolation.
Yeah, and you never knew what clothes you will get back. Luckily you have your own size, but if not, so they worked in shifts, 12-hour shifts, receiving a quarter of a piece of bread and a very poor soup. If you lost your bowl, you cannot eat. You can have the soup in your hands, and if the soldier that came and take you back to work, you could. The meaning was that you are going to be starving to death, and the work was meaningless. They took off mud, and it was raining, and they took off mud from a dish. But, yeah. And it was only for the sake of humiliation. There was nothing productive about it. Of course, there was the hunger and the lice that was eating their bodies. And there was my grandfather, 15 years old, the first time in his life that he's totally alone. Most of the camp were older than him. And he didn't have a friend or relative or someone to be with, and it was only a matter of surviving the day. He wrote in his book that one night he had a dream he had like a nightmare. He dreamt that the whole camp was on fire. Everything was burned. People were shouting, and everything was, and you couldn't, the smell was horrible, and people were shouting and crying and everything. And then he was, my grandfather, Arie, finding a hole in the fence, and he is walking through the hole, and he is alive. And all the camp is gone. And the next morning he woke up and he didn't know what to do with the dream, because in the Jewish tradition it wasn't suitable to tell a nightmare. And to whom? He had nobody with him that he knew, like family or relatives. So he didn't know what to do. And therefore he prayed. That's what he was taught to do, that every time you have a problem or something like this, you pray. And he writes the prayer that he asks God to help him and to take this dream and help everyone. And then he decided to tell the dream to one of the prisoners that knew his father. His name is Nathan Leib. And it's very important to us to say his name, his full name, because he did not survive. And he told him the dream, and he told him, Ariele, because he was young. Ariele, that's what will happen. We will all die, and you will survive. And not that my grandfather had told me that for a fact, but it did give him hope, and he talked about the dream later on as something that gave him hope. I truly believe that what this man did, he was a hero. He could say, why are you telling us bad things? Or we have in Hebrew, neged ayin hara, it's like a bad, I don't know how to say. But he chose to give this child hope to survive. And my grandfather had so many occasions until the last day of the war that he could be murdered or give it up, and he didn't. And one thing that happened in the camp in Nekli was that around the end of the camp they were starting to send transportations to Auschwitz, Chelno. And there was one missing for the train, for the transport. And the German soldier took one of a young boy, like 15 years old, and he took him out of the line. And then his work superior said, no, I need this boy, don't take it. Don't take him. He works good. And then the German asked my grandfather, and his supervisor said, no, I need this boy, don't take him. So the soldier said, okay, so you will race, and whoever wins stays. And the situation, 15 years old, and there is no winner in this story, because someone is going to go to transport that they didn't know where they take them, but they took all the old people and sick and ill people, so it's not going to go for a good place, and you didn't want to be there. So there is no really a winner in the situation. And nobody can tell him, you can do it, go, and to give him any hope in this situation. And they started to run, and my grandfather writes in his book that he ran the hell he could. And it was cold, and his lungs were hurt, and he ran, and he fell, and he came first and stayed another day in the camp, while the other boy had to go. So for us, again, it's not something that my grandfather specifically said, but for me, I tend to believe that was the dream, what Nathan Leib did was giving him a perspective of hope, and it helped him through the way.
They lived in the gypsy camp. They sent transfers gypsies to the crematory. The gypsies went to the crematories. And they lived in the crematory camp.
What they were asked to do is to deliver stones from one place to another.
3 meters only.
And they had to put it in their shirts, their uniforms, and to run through. They were beating, they were shouted, humiliated. They had to stand with bricks in their hands for hours, just for...
If you don't stand it, they kill you. And every day, they not every day, but they were standing naked. It was cold, and if you have a wound, they kill you. A small wound.
Until we met the people of Nekla and Mr. Jurek. We thought of Nekla only bad things, because...
No, only the camp.
The camp. We could not...
we did not... This is a...
We thought the camp was really near this... I'm talking on behalf of myself. I thought it was a horrible place. And because I read the book and I remember the stories, and it wasn't a known camp, because it was one of thousands of small camps that were destroyed after a few months, and they didn't get all the rating that the other camps has. And so we could not know for sure that the things that my grandfather remembers are true. And we went to Yad Vashem, it's our national museum, and we found details about the camp, and only then he put it in his book. But then came this research that was done about the camp, and we got to know the people of Nekla and the stories, how the people of Nekla helped the survivors.
But he told 2 events. It was young girl in his age, I think, and he put a sandwich under the stone. Every day he was working with a horse. He went with the horse on the forest, and then she put every day a sandwich and was looking if he takes it. And another time he was very hungry, and he go another way, and he arrived to a home, an old woman home, and she told me, "Come, I adopt you, stay with me." But he didn't stay. He came back to his family.
And we were told that
this is 2 events that the people of Nekla helped the prisoners. And Lirsch, this man, what Jurek told us, German man who was married with a Polish.
He was... when they took the dead bodies with a cart, and they would walk out of the camp to this place to bury the bodies, and the parents would send the small children to give them potatoes, to throw potatoes at them, and they covered the food under the blanket and keep walking, and it was every day, and we did not know it. You have to be an ordinary person to put in stake your whole family and children and help in this. It's one thing to stand aside and do nothing and do not harm the people, the population, but helping them, I think it's not ordinary thing to do. I don't know what I've done if I were in their situation. We can't know.
Very risky, very risky.
He came from a Hasidic home, and as I told you before, when he was in trouble, he turned to God. But you have to understand that this is a teenager who lost everyone from his family. Everyone, no one survived. He saw his rabbi, his idol, burned with a Torah book in his hands. He saw his mother, he knew later on that she was murdered by gas and everything. So he left, I say it's metaphorically, he left God in Poland.
In Germany.
In Germany.
In Landsberg, yeah.
He left God. He after the war, after he survived, he was working in Landsberg to save money to go back to Poland because nobody helped them to go back home. And he missed the community, the Jewish community, and he went to the synagogue. And it was Yom Kippur. It's a very religious, very holy day for us, the Jewish. And he went to the synagogue and he put the talit and he put the tefillin. Not the tefillin, only the talit. And they were giving him the prayer book and everything, and he was standing there thinking about his family, about the rabbi, about what he... And he just very politely took it off and left the synagogue. He was standing there and we were praying. He's telling we were praying the Yom Kippur prayer, and I saw my father with a white kittel.
His father standing
next to him with this white kittel. It's a coat that for special days you wear in Yom Kippur. Standing next to me, and we are praying together. And my mother standing in the woman side of the synagogue. I saw the Rabbi Avraham Mordechai Morocco that was burned by Germans. I saw the children playing around the synagogue while the men are praying inside the synagogue. And I forgot all the prayers. And then it was the first time that I had questions about the existence of God. Am I standing here and thanking God and praying and believing and crying for him where he was there and did nothing when all my family and all innocent children and 6 million Jews were murdered? We were raised as 100% sacred, you say, not Jewish?
No,
ATS?
secular.
Yeah, secular. The first time I went to a synagogue in Yom Kippur was when I was married. When I got married, and my husband's family used to go, and I went there.
It's a bar mitzvah for your brother.
Yeah. In my family, my grandmother was a Holocaust survivor. She had number tattooed on her arm. It was obvious that they were in the Holocaust because we did not have a family. In all holidays, it was only us and my uncle. This was all the family. And but we could not talk about it. It was there. It was there, but we were not allowed to ask about it. So in a way, we were, as a grandchildren, very loved, and we had very loving grandparents, but there was something there in the family that we're not supposed to talk about. So I started to read books of other testimonies. And I had this library with all these books that I collected through years. And after my grandmother was passed away, he came to us and he took one book from my shelf and he said, I know the people here. Because it was about Auschwitz, about the story I know this man, and slightly he started to tell his story. Not at once, not specifically to me, some to my mother, some to my brother. He took my mother to Poland. A few years later, he took me to Poland. He took all the family to Poland. And I'm very happy that he gave testimony to Spielberg
Not only Spielberg, Yad Vashem.
Yad Vashem, and he wrote us his memories. And yes, it's quite common in Israel that you hear a lot of stories of Holocaust survivor who passed a generation and tell their grandchildren. And in a way, I think that the first generation are survivors as well, because they lived the memories. They lived in a reality that they are very kept. They cannot go to school, traveling, they're keeping food, all these kind of things, nightmares at night and hiding things.
When I meet someone with a thing like a survivor, when I worked with a patient, I asked, from where are you? And I met people who were with my father in Dachau. One I met, but he didn't know my father. And I am very curious to hear and to know. And I am reading many books and many researches about the Holocaust. My husband is, it's all my life. You know, I feel I have a black hole behind me. I have a black hole. I don't know my grandmother, nor my grandfather, not my uncles. And when I was a girl, I adapt babcia, adapt ciocia. I have ciocia Helcia, Baba, and that. I adapt. Grandfather.
They weren't the real ciocia.
Friends of grandparents.
No, friends of my mother and father. And all the friends were from Poland, from there.